Thank you very much to welcome me to Medzone African Motives. So we are going to treat a question paper which is in relation to Business Studies Grade 12. So that is a preparatory for Term 3 exams that we are going to sit on very soon. So now we are trying to prepare for the coming exams for Term 3. So the question paper that we are going to do, it was written last year in September 2024. So as we know, it's a business studies paper 1. So marks are 150, and we are to take 2 hours to write this paper. So now we are moving on to the instructions and information. So under the instructions and information, they read as follows. Read the following instructions carefully before answering the questions. The question paper consists of 3 sections and covers 2 main topics. Then the section A is compulsory, so it's a must for you to attempt to that section A. Section B consists of three questions. Then you are to answer any 2 of the 3 questions in this section. Section C consists of 2 questions. You are to answer 1 of those 2 questions. Also, you are asked to read instructions for each question carefully and take particular note for what is required. Note that only answers to the first 2 questions selected in section B and the answers to the first question selected in section C will be marked. So that is that. Take note of this instruction. It's very important. Number answers correctly according to the number system used in this question paper. No marks will be awarded for answers that are numbered incorrectly. So the numbering is very important, because if ever you make a mistake, there are no marks that you are going to be awarded. Except where other instructions are given must be written in full sentences. Use mark allocation nature of each question to determine the length and depth of the answer. Use table below as a guide for mark and time allocation when answering each question. So that is a table that we are told to use. Instruction number 7, begin answer to each question on a new page. For example, question 1, new page, question 2, new page. You may use a non-programmable calculator, write neatly and legibly. So that is that. So without wasting time, let's go straight to question 1. Let's go straight to question 1. So as we know, as we are told in the instructions, that question 1 is compulsory. So we are to answer it whether we like it or not. So now we are going to start with question 1. 1.1. So the question 1.1 reads as follows. Various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only letter A to D next to the question number. 1.1.1, 1.1.5 in the answer book, for example, 1.1.6D. So the question says, the X ensures that transformation takes place in the workplace through implementation of affirmative action. As we know, when you're talking of affirmative action, this is where we are saying those previously disadvantaged people are now going to be accommodated. Those people who were discriminated in the past, more especially we can talk during those times of apartheid, they are now going to be considered. That's when we're going to talking about the implementation of affirmative action. So now we want to know the correct answer, whereby now we're given skill development, labor relation, employment equity act, basic condition, employment act. So here the correct answer is C. Correct answer is C, which is employment equity Act. So act ensures that there is a fairness and transformation in the workplace. So this act ensures that there is a fairness. It ensures that there is a fairness and transformation. And transformation in the workplace through affirmative action. Through affirmative action. That is why the correct answer is C. So now we are moving on to question 1.12. 1.12. So 1.12 read as follows. It says Villa transporters operate in dash sector as they deliver raw materials to ABC manufacturers. We talk of economic, primary, secondary, and tertiary. So the correct answer is D, tertiary, because you're talking about what? The transportation. Once we transport goods from one place to another, it forms what? Tertiary sector. So the correct answer is the tertiary sector. 1.1.3 Jamie Motor Space implemented dash integration strategy when they bought Sky Parts manufacture. That is 1.13. 1.13. So we are talking about what? The integration strategy. As we know, the integration strategy, that is whereby now we are going to measure, that is whereby we integrate uh, two, it can be either two businesses, whereby we can can measure with suppliers, measure with distributors, trying to solve some certain problems. So with this one, whereby now you are trying to measure, whereby now you are to buy Sky Parts manufacture. So it simply says this is a backward strategy. The correct answer is a backward strategy, because now the company is going to try to combine with its suppliers so that it can be easy for it to access the raw materials, so that it can be easy for it to access the raw material. So the correct answer is backward strategy, as is going to merge with the suppliers. Now we are moving on. So we are moving on to 1.15. 1.14. 1.14, it reads as follows. A Messi Proprietary Limited use dash procedure when conducting interviews to identify the most suitable applicant. We have selection, induction, recruitment, and placement. So the correct answer is A, selection. They use selection procedure when conducting interviews to identify most suitable candidate, because we know with selection, that is the process of selecting best candidate. This is where we are trying to select best candidate and select most qualified applicant. This is where you conduct interviews because you want to select most qualified applicant. You want to select most qualified applicant. That is that. That is that. Where we want to select most qualified applicant. So now we are moving on to 1.15, whereby now we are talking about this function is responsible for ensuring that the products meet the customer's requirements by being safe, reliable, as well as durable. So we are talking about what? The product that is going to meet the customer requirements. So which function is going to be responsible for that? It cannot be marketing or financial purchasing, but it can be what? Production function or production department, because production function ensures that that they are reliable, product is reliable, is safe, and also is a good what? Is a good quality. Make sure that products are going to meet what? They are the ones who make sure that the product is going to be of quality, whereby it's going to be very safe, not harmful to the end users or harmful to customers. It's going to be a reliable product and durable, whereby it can last for longer. So the correct answer is production. So now we are to move on to 1.2. We are to move on to 1.2. Here we are under 1.2, where it says, complete the following statements by using words or provided in the list below and write the words next to the question number 1.21 to 1.25 in the answer book. So we are given here are the words in the here are given words in the bracket. So we are going to use them to answer these questions from 1.21 to 1.24. Meaning we're going to fill in the missing words. So it says an employee qualifies for dash for 3 days when he or the child is sick. So if the child is sick, it means an employee qualifies for a family responsibility. That is family responsibility. Family responsibility. That is the correct answer. Family responsibility. As we know, family responsibility, this is where we're talking about where employees qualify for family responsibility leave when a child or a family member is sick. So if a father takes 3 days off because his child is admitted in hospital, so that is what a family responsibility, because the child is admitted in hospital, so the father can be given 3 days off from work. So that is family responsibility. Now we have Frank Fru's compile dash analysis when they examine their internal environment. So they are going to compile what? SWOT analysis. They are going to compile SWOT analysis when they examine their internal environment. So that is that. So we know that the strength, weakness, and SW, in strength and weakness, they are found internally, while its opportunity and friends, they are externally. So the correct answer when they are trying to examine the internal environment, that is SWOT analysis that they're going to use. That's the tool that they're going to use. So now we're moving on to another question, where we are now told that the gold jewelers use their salary determination method when they pay their employees for each design completed. For each design completed, that is very important. So they are going to use what you call piecemeal. They are going to use what you call they're going to use what you call a piecemeal, because piecemeal workers are paid for each unit of work or item produced. They are paid according to the unit or item produced. So here we can see that they are going to be paid according to uh, for each design completed. So that is why now it is a piecemeal. So we're supposed to write it here, not there. Piecemeal. That is that. Piecemeal. So the correct answer is piecemeal. It is this one. Piecemeal. So now we're moving on to where it says Taskwell TD uses dash quality to ensure that the finished products meet the required standard. The finished products are going to meet what? Required standard. So what are they going to use? They are going to use what? They are going to use quality control. They are going to use quality control. They are going to use quality control to ensure that finished products meet the required standard. So quality control, that this way when talking about quality control, where it ensures that finished goods meet set standards before reaching what? Customers. Finished goods meet set standards before reaching what? Customers. That is very important. So now we are moving on to question 1.5. The function is responsible for implementing sustainable and corporate social programs. The function is responsible uh, for implementing sustainable social investment programs. So the correct answer is public. The correct answer is public relations. The correct answer is public relations. The correct answer is public relations because the company is trying by all means to manage the image and social responsibility activities. So that is public relations, managing company's image as well as doing what you call social responsibility activities. By so doing, they are implementing sustainable corporate and social investment. So they are trying by all means to build a good company's image and doing social responsibility activities. So that is that. And, the correct answer is public relation. That is public relation. So that is 1.2. Now we are to go to 1.3. So we are to move on to 1.3. 1.3 is 1.3. Here is our 1.3. So 1.3, we are to choose the description from column B that matches a term in column B. That is the matching questions. Write only letter A to AG next to the question number 1.31 to 1.35 in the answer book. And the example that is given is 1.36K. So that is how we are going to write our answers. So now let's move on to question or to our mission, where now it says economic empowerment, Black economic empowerment. So we want to see which statement in column B is going to match that. So we can see that I is going to be the correct answer because we are talking about the economic black empowerment. It benefited only few previously disadvantaged people in the economy. Benefited only a few previously disadvantaged people in the economy. So the correct answer is I. So that is how we are going to answer it. Where we are now going to your black economic empowerment. So that is I. Now we are coming to market development. Market development. So when you talk of market development, we are talking about where the business want to enter into new markets, trying to expand and having much more customer base, trying to expand its customer base. So now we want to see market development. So now let's move on and see. We can see that the correct answer will be F, where it says restructure different pricing policy to cater customers of all income levels. So you are restructuring what pricing policies to cater to customers of all income levels. So you want to have them all. So you are trying to increase your market. You are catering for all of them. So it means you are developing by a market by so doing. So the correct answer is F. The correct answer is F. That is a correct answer, F. So now we are moving on to retirement. Retirement. So with retirement, we are trying to see which one is going to match it. So if you can see the age, that is whereby the employment contract is terminated because of age. So that is, it matches because when you retire, that's where now you are trying by all means to terminate a contract because of the age now. So age is a correct answer. Age is a correct answer. So now we're talking about job specification. You know, when you're talking about job specification, we are talking about what? Qualification, experiences, knowledge, and skills that are required to do the job. So we want to see which one will match that. And as we can see, J can match that. Describe the minimum acceptable personal skills needed to do the job. So that is a correct answer. Then that is a correct answer. Under job specification. Under job specification. Now we come to total quality management. Total quality management. So total quality management is about satisfying the needs of consumers, trying to improve the businesses. So that is why the correct answer is going to be A. The correct answer is going to be A, where we can say. So this is how we to answer 1.3. So now we are going to move to section B. Without wasting much time, we are going to attend section B. So where we are told to answer any two questions in this section, but as we are going to answer them all. Also, you remember we are to indication question number of each question that you choose. So it's very important that the question that you're going to choose, you indicate the question number. The answer to each question must start on a new page, like it was said while we were reading the instruction. Like question 2 on a new page, question 3 on a new page. So now let's go straight to question 2 under business environments, where we are to answer the questions. Then the question says, list 4 rights of consumers according to the Consumer Protection Act. We want the rights of the consumers according to CPA. What are the rights do this act give to consumers? That is very important. So they have right to choose. They have right to choose. So they can choose from various products that are offered in the business. So they have right to choose. So it means they have right to choose. So consumers have freedom to select from variety of products and services. So this allows them to make informed decisions. That is that. Also right to privacy. Right to privacy. So this means that consumers' personal information should be protected. Their personal information should be protected and kept confidential by business. That is that. So also, right to fair and honest dealings. Right to fair and honest dealings. So that is that, whereby business should treat consumers fairly and honestly, without engaging in a deceptive or misleading practices. That is what is needed or expected out of them. Also, we can have what? Right to disclosure and information. Right to disclosure. Right to disclosure and information. So it means consumers have the right to receive accurate as well as clear information from the business about the product and services. This is going to enable them to do what? To as well make informed decisions. So that is very important. So these are the rights of the consumers according to the CPA, Consumer Protection Act. So without wasting time, let's move on to the role of SETA, Sector Education Training Authority, in supporting what? This Act, Skill Development Act, SDA of 1998, Act 97 of 98. So now we are to outline what the role that is played by SETA. We want to outline the role that is played by SETA. So the first one, the SETA plays the role whereby now they approve workplace skill plans. They approve workplace skills plans. They approve workplace skills plans. So they are the ones who are going to enable business to do what? To give training to employees. They are the ones who are going to give the accreditation to business to continue making a training to workplace, because they are going to check whether what the business, the training programs that the business is going to come up with, whether they are the needs, their training is going to attend to the needs of the trainees. So that is why they are the ones to approve workplace skills plans. So that is the first role of the sector of the setters. Also, they allocate grants to employees. They allocate grants to employers. They allocate grants to employers, as well as education, as well as training providers. So they are the ones who are going to allocate the grants to employers, because employers are going to pay 1% of their profits to setters, and in return the setter is going to pay out the grants that is going to enable the employees to give trainings to the employees. So that is that. So another role that is played by SETA, they also promote and establish learnership. They promote and establish learnerships. So that is that. They are the ones who promote and make sure that they are learnerships. So without wasting time, let us move to 1.3 to 2.3. 2.3, where we are given the scenario. You are given a scenario, read the scenario below and answer the questions. So the scenario read as follows. Peace Motor Parts specializes in the selling of generic motor parts in the Eastern Cape. So they realized that their business was in trouble because of a drop in sales. So they terminated the employment contracts of some of their workers. PM are aware that they can also implement other defensive strategies in future. So the question 2.31 says, identify a type of defensive strategy used by PM in the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. So the defensive strategy the defensive strategy used by PM in the scenario above is what? Retrenchment. It's retrenchment. Then we have to quote. Is because quote from the scenario. We have to give the motivation. It is because that they terminated the employment contracts of some of their workers. They terminated employment contracts. Employment contracts of some of their workers. Some of their workers. That is that. So that is how we were to attend to this question. So now it says explain other defensive strategies. So here from the scenario, you can see here it's written terminated the employment contracts of some of their workers. That is a defensive strategy. So they are trying to defend themselves so that they don't go out of the market. They remain in the market. So the only way to do that is to downsize. So they do downsizing so that they are going to cut some of the salaries so that they will use that money to other purposes of the business. Explain one other defensive strategy, 2.32. Then we can talk about the other one. You can talk about liquidation as one another. Liquidation. So you are to explain it. So this is whereby now with liquidation, we know you sell all assets to pay off creditors. Sell all assets to pay off creditors. Pay off creditors. Pay off what? Creditors. Due to lack of capital or inability to repay creditors or bankrupts. So you have to sell your assets so that you can pay your creditors, suppliers that you owe. So you sell all of those assets. So you are going to sell the entire business to pay shareholders for fair price of their shares. So allowing creditors to apply for forced liquidation to have their claims settled. So that is that when you talk of what? Liquidation. So the other defensive strategy can be divestiture, whereby with divestiture, you are selling some assets or divisions that are no longer profitable. Unlike with liquidation, whereby now you are selling all assets. But with divestiture, you sell some that are not profitable. So that is that. So now we are moving on. Whereby now we are asked to discuss the rights of employees according to the Labor Relation Act. According to Labor Relation Act, we want to the rights of the employees according to this act, Labor Relation Act. So this is whereby now we can say employees may join trade union of their choice. May join trade unions of their choice. So this act allows employees to join trade union of your choice. So the company cannot force them to join the trade union that is uh, liked by the company. So they can't force them to go for a certain trade union. So the act allows them to go to any of trade unions that they want to go to. So also they can embark on legal strike. They can also embark on he can also embark on legal strike. Embark on legal strike. He can embark on legal strike as a remedy for their grievances. So if they have some grievances, they are allowed to go for a strike, but a strike that is very legal. So also they can refer unresolved workplace disputes to CSMA. So those disputes that are not or they were not solved, they can refer them to CCMA. That is that. Also, they can request trade union representative to assist or represent employees in the grievances or disciplinary hearing. So that is how it can. So now, without wasting time, let's move on to 2.5. 2.5, it says, advise business on how to apply the threat or barriers on new entrants to the market as a force of Porter's five forces model to analyze their position in the market. So meaning here we are talking about the application of the barrier of threat as a force in Porter's five model. So that is what we are talking about, the application of the barrier of threat to entry as a force to the Porter's five forces model. So that is what the question wants. So we are going to talk about the barrier of threat to entry. So this is where we're saying if a business is highly profitable, it may attract more competitors. If business is highly profitable, if business is highly profitable, it means it is going to attract what? More competitors that want to benefit from high profits. So competitors will want to benefit from that high profits. So that is when we're talking about the threat to entry. If the barriers to entering business market are low, if barriers are low, if barriers are low, if barriers are low to enter the market, then it will be easy for other business to enter the market. So it's going to be very easy for other business to enter to such a market because maybe to enter into the market, it doesn't even require strict legislations, or we can talk about even the capital is cheap. So that will make it easy for the business to enter. That is that. Or if there are only few traders but many buyers in the market, it will also be easy to enter in that market because you see that the businesses are few and the demand is high in that market. So it will be easy for other business to enter to such a market. So now let's move on to 2.6. Let's move on to 2.61, 2.62. 2.61, now we are to read what? The scenario. We are to read the scenario. So it reads as follows. Citibank provides money-related and services to their clients. They allow clients to deposit and borrow money. So they are registered with the National Credit Regulator. Citibank always provides their customers with reasons when credit is refused. So CB also trained their staff on their obligations in terms of figure. So now we are to quote two ways that CB complies with National Credit Act. National Credit Act 2005, Act 34 of 2005, from the scenario above. So we are to quote from the scenario. Two ways in which CB, Bank, complies with the National Credit Act. So as we can see, it says that they are registered with National Credit Regulator. They are registered with National Credit Regulator. With National Credit Regulator. So by registering with National Credit Regulator, it means they are complying with what? With the act that is complying. So we code it as it is, as they are registered with National Credit Regulator. That is that. Also CB also train their staff, train their customers, train their staff on their obligations in terms of figure. Also train their staff on their obligations in terms of figure. In terms of figure. So those are two answers that you were to provide. They train their staff on the obligations in terms of figure. So those are two answers that you were to quote from this scenario. So now we are moving on to 2.62. 2.62, which says, discuss the positive impact of National Credit Act on business. The positive impact, because it's talking about the positive impact of National Credit Act on business. So it lower bad debts. It lowers bad debts, which is going to result in better cash flow. Lower bad debts, which is going to result in better cash flow. Protects business against non-paying customers. Protects business against non-paying customers. So this act is going to protect business if ever there are customers who are now failing to pay. So this act will make follow-up to such customers to make sure that they are going to pay what? The business. So that is that. So other advantages of NCA on business is that it leads to more customers through credit sales, as they are now protected from abuse. So there are more customers that are going to come through credit sales because now they are protected from the abuse of customers who might fail to pay. So it means if it leads more customers, there are more sales that are going to come. It also prevents reckless lending and prevents business from bankruptcy. So that is that. So now let's move on to 2.7. Let's move on to 2.7. 2.7, explain the steps in strategy evaluation. Steps in strategy evaluation. Explain the steps in strategy evaluation. So with strategy evaluation, this is whereby now we are going to say, examine the underlying basis of business strategy. We are going to examine underlying basis of a business strategy. Of a business strategy. Also, you are to compare expected performance with actual performance. Compare expected performance with actual performance. Actual performance. So that you see whether you're still in line with your planned strategy. So you want to see your standard performance with actual performance so that you can see whether you've reached your goal or not. So if not, then you are to take what? Corrective actions. You are to take what? Corrective actions. Also, you are going to determine the reasons for deviations. Analyze these reasons. You are going to determine reasons for deviations. Reasons for deviations. So that is that. You're going to determine the reasons for deviations. What makes it not to be unable to be able to reach your set standard? So you know what went wrong. You wanted to produce 10 liters a day, but you failed to produce 10 liters a day of, let's say, of yogurt or anything that you can produce. So if you fail the set standard, there might be reasons why. Maybe the employees were absent, they were coming at work late, stuff like that. So that is that. So that is how you were to get your 6 marks. That is how you were going to get your 6 marks. Also, you can take corrective action to divisions may be corrected. Take corrective action so that divisions may be corrected. That is what we are talking about. Set specific dates for control and make follow-up. So those are other. So now 2.8. Recommend ways in which business can deal with challenges that are posed by social factors as per SLEL analysis factor. Recommend ways in which business can deal with challenges that are posed by social factor. This is where now you can learn local languages. So you can as well, when it comes to language, you can say learn local language. That is that. Learn local language or hire employees who are conversant with the local language. Or hire employees who are very conversant with what? Local language. So that there will be no communication barrier with your customers. And that will make your business to sell very well. So also, you have to sell substitute or generic products at a lower prices. Sell substitute products at the lower prices. At the lower prices. Sell substitute products at lower prices due to low income levels. Due to low income levels. Because we are talking about ways in which business can deal with the challenges that are posed by social factors. You'll find that where your business is established, where your business your business is established, people there, they are low income earners. So make sure that you are going to sell substitute products to them so that they can be able to afford those products and services. That is what it means. So the other ones, you can say business must be well conversant with demands and trends of the customers. So that is that. So now we are to move to question 3. We are to move to question 3. So here is our question 3. 3.1, which says 3.1 says state any 3 aspects that should be included in the employment contract. State any 3 aspects that should be included in a employment contract. So in employment contract, we can talk about the details of employer, details of employer. That is when you're talking about the name as well as the address of the employer. We can talk about job title or position. Also, we can talk about job description, such as duties. We can talk about job description. That's when you're talking about the duties that the applicant or the employee must perform, must do. Hours of work such as normal time or overtime. Remuneration, we're talking about the monthly pay or the weekly pay. The allowances, benefits, as well as allowances. Place where an employee is going to spend most of his or her working time. Date of employment, commencement of employment, all those things are the aspects that should be included in the employment contract. Now we are moving on. Outline the role of interviewer before the interview. The role of the interviewer before the interview. Role of the interviewer. We want the role of the interview before the interview can take place. So he or she must book and prepare the venue. And prepare the venue. Book and prepare the venue for the interview. For the interview. Where the interview is going to take place. Must book that place and prepare it so that also he or she must inform all shortlisted candidates. Inform all shortlisted candidates. Must inform shortlisted candidates about the date, place, as well as time of the interview. Shortlisted candidates about date and place of the interview. So that is very important as well. Also, set the interview date. Set the interview date. Set the interview date. And ensure that all interviews take place on the same day, if possible. So that is that. And also to notify all panel members conducting interview about the date and place of the interview. Make sure that the panel members who are going to attend the interview, they are as well aware of the date and where the interview is going to take place. Don't make any mistake of forgetting to let the panel to know where the interview is going to take place. Also, the interviewer must also develop a core set of questions based on the skills and knowledge and ability that is required. That is that. So now let's move on to 3.3. So with 3.3, we are given a scenario now. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Royal Logistic has vacancies for cashier and warehouse manager. So Royal Logistic prepare job analysis and design an advertisement. So the business has advertised these vacancies on social media. Identify type of recruitment used by RL in the scenario above. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. So you identify what type of the recruitment that is used by the RL. So we want to know that. So that is external recruitment. That is external recruitment. That is external recruitment. Then we are to motivate. We are to give a motivation. This is where the business has advertised these vacancies on social media. The business has advertised these vacancies on social media. On social media. So that is how we were to answer this question. It says that the business has advertised this. The business has advertised these vacancies on social media. So it means that the business was going out. They were looking for outside the business. They were not recruiting internally because this was advertised on social media. So that is that. Question 3.32. Evaluate the impact of the type of recruitment identified in question 3.1, which is where what is needed is that the impact of what external recruitment. That was question 1. But make sure that you are not going to do what? Do not award marks for the motivation if the method of recruitment was incorrectly identified. So here, this is whereby now 3.31, make sure that you are not going to be awarded marks. If you failed what? The method of recruitment. And then the motivation as well, you're not going to be awarded marks. So let's move 3.32. The impact of external recruitment. The impact of external recruitment. Maybe we can start by positive. Positives. We can say new candidates bring new talent. New candidates bring new talent. That is that. New candidates bring new talent, ideas, experience into the business. Overall efficiency increase in productivity may occur as the new worker actively adds value to the business. So because they're going to bring new talent, new ideas, this shows our production is going to increase because they are going to add value to the business. But what about the negative? The drawback of it, that is where we are saying uh, the possibility that the selection is not effective and the wrong candidate is chosen. Or we can say external sources can be expensive. External sources can be expensive. That is that. External sources can be expensive, such as recruitment agencies, fees, advertisement in newspapers. So those are going to cost you. So this is how we were to answer it, but there are so many advantages and disadvantages under external recruitment. With positives, again, we can talk about it is going to help business to meet affirmative action, that is BBEE targets. There is a larger pool of candidates to choose from if you're going to recruit externally. That is true. There is a better chance of getting suitable candidates with the required skills, qualifications, who do not need much training, which also going to reduce cost. But under negatives again, besides the external source being expensive, we can talk about whereby we are saying new candidates need time to adjust to their work environment. So that is a disadvantage. Because unlike if we recruited internally, those ones they were going to be familiar with the organizational culture, policies, and stuff like that. Also, the information on CV from referees may not be reliable. You know, the referees can as well lie, so we cannot trust their information as well. So this is how you were to answer that question where you were to get 4 marks of it. Now we go to 3.4. With 3.4, discuss the link between salary determination as well as basic condition of employment act. Basic condition of the Employment Act. So now we want a link between the salary as well as basic condition employment, that act. So the BCEA, which is this one, sets out conditions that ensure fair labor and human resource practice. It set out conditions that ensure fair labor and human resource practices. And human resource practices. Human resource practices. That is how it linked with BCA. So Basic Condition Employment Act, they set out conditions that ensure that there is a fair labor as well as human resources. Also, we can talk about the payment of salaries. We can talk about what? We can talk about payment of salaries. The payment of salaries should be based on whether the employee is permanent or employed on a fixed contract. So that is how you are to answer this question. But there are so many points that we can mention there. Also, we can talk about business are supposed to deduct income tax, pay as you earn from employees' taxable salaries. So that is that. Now we move on to 3.5. Move on to 3.5, whereby the 3.5 says, elaborate on the meaning of quality performance. Elaborate on the meaning of quality performance. So quality performance simple means that total performance of each department. Total performance of each department. Total performance of each department, whereby now is going to be measured against the specified standard. That is going to be measured against specified standard. Also, it can be obtained if all departments work together. Can be obtained if all departments work together. If all departments work together. That is that. It can be obtained if all departments work together towards the same quality standards. That's when we can be able to obtain the quality performance. That is that. Now we are moving on to 3.6, where now we are to read what? The scenario. It says read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Then we have the exceller removers, ER. Exceller removers specializes in the removal of furniture across the Eastern Cape. ER uses data to evaluate the results of the change in the processes. With the help of quality cycles, they ensure that they deliver quality services to their customers. Name the step of PDCA cycle used by ER in the scenario above. So that is that. So that is check or analyze. That is check or analyze. So that is that. Name the step that is used in the PDCA cycle used by that. They check and analyze. They uses data to evaluate the results. Evaluate what? The results of change in the processes. So that is that. Also, this is explain the rules of quality cycle, the role of quality cycle as part of continuous improvement processes in the system. So now we want the role of quality cycle. So the first rule that is that they solve problems related to quality. Solve problems related to quality. Solve problems related to quality and implement improvements. And also implement what? Improvements. They also investigate what? Problems. They also investigate problems. They also investigate problems. They investigate problems by making sure that they suggest, as well as by suggesting solutions to management. They investigate problems and then do what? Suggest solutions to management. That is the roles of the quality cycle. They also make suggestions for improving systems and processes in the workplace. They can also improve the quality product or service or productivity through regular reviews of quality processes. So that is the role of quality cycle. Now we are moving on to discuss the quality indicators of marketing function. Quality indicators of marketing function. One, the quality indicators of marketing function. Quality indicators of marketing function. So this one we are going to say use aggressive advertising campaigns. They use what? They use aggressive. They use aggressive advertising campaigns. Advertising campaigns. Advertising campaigns. How so? Because they are doing that to increase their market share. They do those advertising campaigns so as to increase what? Market share. That is the reason why they do that. Also, they winning customers. We're talking about winning customers. Is one of the quality indicators of marketing function. They win customers by satisfying their needs. Once building positive relationships. So they are going to win customers by making sure that they are going to satisfy the customers' needs. So also they can as well adhere to ethical advertising practices. Now they adhere to advertising practices. To advertising practices. They adhere to advertising practices when promoting their products and services. So that is that. 3.8, recommend ways in which total quality management to QM can reduce cost of quality. How they can reduce what? The cost of quality. This is whereby we can say introduce quality cycle. Introduce quality cycles. That is when we're talking about small teams of 5 or 10 employees who meet regularly. To discuss ways of improving quality. Who are going to meet regularly to discuss the ways of what? Improving quality of their work. So they are going to meet regularly to discuss what? The improvement of the quality of their work. So the quality cycles are very important. Also, schedule activities. Schedule activities to eliminate duplication. To eliminate duplication. So that is that. Make sure that you're going to make sure of the schedule so that you're not going to do a repetitive task. You can as well share responsibility for quality output amongst the management and workers so as to make sure that you are going to improve the quality at workplace, or take employees to training at all levels so that everyone understands the role of quality management. So now we are moving on to question 4. We are now moving to question 4. We're moving to question 4. We're moving to question 4. So as we are moving, make sure that we are still. Now we are on question 4 under business environments. Under business environments. So the first question under Question 4, 4.1. Name any four pillars of the broad-based black empowerment. BBEE. 2003, Act of 53 of 2003. So four pillars, as we know, they are management, ownership, skills development, skills development, as well as social responsibility. Social responsibility. So those are the four pillars of broad-based black empowerment. Social responsibility, or we can say socio-economic development. We can also talk about supplier development or enterprise and supplier development, ESD. So that is your 4 marks. Outline the advantages of diversification strategies. Advantages of diversification strategies. So when we divert that this way, we're talking about there is going to be increase in sales, increased sales or income and business growth. So we are going to talk about the increasing of sales, the increased sales, that is that, the improved business brand, improves business brand, also the improved business brand, image and brand awareness of the business. They also reduce risk of relying only on one product. Reduce risk of relying only on one product. So that is that. Now we are moving on to question 4.3. With question 4.3, it reads as follows. Here is the scenario. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Suppose garden service offers garden services to the residential and commercial clients, so they struggle to find a reliable provider for the machinery needed. Employees are often late for work, a decrease in the income levels of their clients, resulting in lower productivity. So quote two challenges of SG from the scenario. That is 4.3. Quote two challenges from the scenario. So 4.3, classify the two challenges coded in question 4.31 according to business environments. 4.33, state extent control of SGA has over each business environment classified in question 4.32. So this is how we are going to answer them. Challenges, business environment, as well as what? Extend control. So the challenge that we can see that they struggle to find a reliable provider. They struggled to find reliable provider. That is that. So we want to know it falls under which business environment? That is market. That is a market. They struggle to find a reliable provider for their machinery needed. So it means if they struggle to find a reliable machinery needed is the market. So the extent control is limited. So now we can go to from the scenario and see that here it is. They struggled to find the reliable provider for the machinery needed. They struggle to find reliable providers. So we're talking about the suppliers. They struggle to find what suppliers. So suppliers are they are what? They fall under market environment. They fall under market environment. So they are limited, some partial, because you can influence them, but you cannot control. That is why we're saying there's what partial or limited control. You cannot fully control them, but the only thing that we can do is to influence them. That is why we're saying it's a limited control. So now we are to come to another one, as we were told to code two challenges. So another challenge can be uh, employees are often late for work. We can talk about employees being late for work. So this one is what? Micro. And then it can be micro, it can have a full control of it. Have a full control. So that is that. So we can go to the scenario and see where we have employees are often late for work. Here it is. Employees are often late for work. So that is that. So it means this is how we coded it. So we were to code how many? 2. So it means now we can move on to another question. 4.4. 4.4, recommend ways in which business can comply with the compensation of occupational injuries. That is COIDA 1997 X61 of 1997. So you recommend ways that we can comply with COIDA. So business should provide health and safe working environment. Business should provide safe working environment. Safe working environment. Also, for them to comply, they have to register with Compensation Commissioner. Register with Compensation Commissioner. That this has to provide particulars of the business. So it's very important to do that. Also, they can be obliged to report all incidents causing death or injury or illness of the employees. They should also submit returns of earnings by not later than 1 March annual. That is that when you're talking about how they can comply with the compensation, occupational injuries and disease. So now we are moving on to 4.5. Now we are moving on to 4.5. So 4.5, it says outline the placement procedure. Outline the placement procedure. So for us to outline placement procedure, business should outline specific responsibilities. Business should outline specific responsibilities and expectation skills of new position. That is that. Also, determine successful candidates' strength and weakness. Interest or skills by subjecting him or her to the range of psychometric test. So they have to do what we call what? Psychometric test. They should do what? Psychometric test. Psychometric test. They have to do psychometric test. That will enable them to know the strengths and weakness or interest or skills of the candidate. That is what it can be easily done. So now we are moving on to 4.6. Explain unemployment insurance fund as a compulsory benefit required by law. So we're talking about what? UIF. So we're talking about UIF. Employers must pay unemployment insurance contributions of 2% of their value of worker's salary per month. The employer and worker each contribute. So both employer must contribute to unemployment insurance fund. Both employer, the employers must pay. Let me say. Employers must pay unemployment insurance contribution. So we're talking about the contribution. Contribution that is to be made by the employers. 2% of the value of each worker's salary per month. And the employer and the worker each contribute. So even the workers are going to do what? They are going to contribute. They're both going to contribute. So that is that. The employer is 2%. The employer and worker each contribute what? 1%. So that is 2% that we're talking about. Because they both what? Contribute 1% and 1%. That is what we're saying when we're talking about the contribution that they're going to make. So also we can talk about the fund also assists the dependents of contributing worker who has died. So if it may happen that the worker dies, so that fund is going to do what? It's going to assist the dependents. The fund assists the dependents. The fund assists the dependents. The fund is going to assist the dependents, whereby now the worker who died. So the fund is going to assist the dependents if ever the worker is going to die or what. So that is that. Also, the fund offers short-term financial assistance to workers when they become unemployment. So the funds offers short-term financial assistance. Fund offers short-term assistance. In the case whereby now the worker find himself into a situation where now he is now unemployed. So that is that. So that is an employment insurance fund that is contributed by both employer and the worker. They contribute 2% because each contribute what? 1%. So that fund is going to assist the dependents. So if ever the worker dies, it means the dependents are going to be funded by that contribution that they made. So also the fund assists short-term assistance if the worker find him or herself unemployed. Now we are moving on to 4.7. Identify total quality management element applied by Suzy manufacturers in each statement. 4.7. So it reads as follows. SM ensure that training programs are relevant to increase customer satisfaction. So we are to identify what? Total quality management element. So ensure training programs are relevant. So it means it talks about continuous skill development. This what? Continuous skills, continuous skill development. Continuous skill development. 4.72, SM can afford to purchase quality raw materials and equipment. Adequate financing, because they can afford. So it means the total quality management element there is what? Adequate financing. Adequate financing. Adequate financing and capacity. Adequate financing and capacity. So now we are to move on to 4.8. Now we are to move on to 4.8. 4.8 advise business on the impact of monitoring and evaluation of quality as a total quality management element on large business. Monitoring and evaluation of quality processes. The impact, we want the impact of monitoring and evaluation of quality as a total quality management on large business. On large business. So we are first going to start by the positives. First going to start by positive, as when you are talking about impact, you're talking about positives as well as negatives, advantages and disadvantages. So the first one, we can say it prevents product defects. Prevent product defects and minimize wastage. And minimize wastage as well as customer complaints. That is that. That is the advantage of monitoring and evaluation of quality element on large business. So when you do that monitoring and evaluation, you're going to prevent what? Product defects. And that as well, you're going to minimize what? Wastage. Or as well as what? Customer what? Complaints, as the product will be of quality. Also, it is going to do what? Good quality checks procedures minimize the replacement, breakdown of equipment and machinery on regular basis. That is that. Also improve performance. It also improve performance. It also improves what? Performance. It improves performance. Improve performance and maintain high quality standards. Those are the positive. Now we can come to negatives. Now we can come to negatives. Strategies are revised in order to improve the quality of the product and service. business management. Also, the negatives we can talk about. Large businesses are often divided. Large business are often divided and the departments work in silos. So the departments are going to work in silos. That is a disadvantage of it. It is also difficult to get everyone to communicate effectively. It is also difficult to get everyone to communicate effectively. To communicate effectively. To communicate effectively, and often messages are not received correctly. So this is how we were to answer this question. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. Make sure that you are going to share with those who are concerned, and this is going to help us when we are going to sit for our preparatory examinations that are going to be written very soon. So let us make sure that you are going to go through this as a preparation for the coming exams for term 3. Thank you very much.